Howdy everyone, it's Sam. I hope you're doing really well. If you're new around here, I hope I can get you to consider liking the content and subscribing to the channel. And if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. Week 3 of the Rugby League World Cup 2021 is upon us, and let's get stuck straight into it. So the first game to kick off week 3 is from Emerald Headingley Stadium. New Zealand Kiwis are hosting the Irish, and the Kiwis are $1 favourites to Ireland, $34 outsiders, and this is the first ever match between New Zealand and Ireland. So a bit of history, and it's not the first time that that sort of history is coming our way this weekend in the World Cup. There are team lists that have been announced, and there's a stack of changes for New Zealand. So I'm just going to go through the entire New Zealand team list, starting at fullback Joey Manu. The wingers are Ronaldo Mulitalo and Jordan Rapana. Peta Hiku and Britton Nakora is going to be the center combination. And then Dylan Brown and finally Jerome Hughes slots in at halfback as well. The props are Jesse Bromwich, James Fisher Harris, and Brandon Smith is in there at hooker. And then Kenny Bromwich, Asafa Solomona, and Joseph Tarpanay is the back row. Tarpanay filling in the lock position. The interchange bench sees Isaiah Papali'i, Kieran Foran, Jared Waerea-Hargreaves, and Isaac Liu shifting over to the Irish. And there's 3 forced changes for them. And that's Jamin Jolliffe, Liam Byrne, and Rob Mulhern. All 3 of them are suspended this weekend, which sees Dan Norman, James McDonnell, and Michael Ward come into the side for them. All 3 prop replacements, 3 back row replacements, but that back line does remain the same as well. Luke Keary is going to have to pull out his entire bag of tricks in this contest. I know that the likes of Marata Niukore and Moses Leota are out for the New Zealand side, and Dallin Watene-Zelezniak seems to have done his hamstring as well, which might see him out for the rest of the World Cup, unfortunately. But there's just, I think the New Zealand side are going to win this one 13 plus and end the finals hopes of the Irish. Game number 2 of the Week 3 Rugby League World Cup is from Bramall Lane in Sheffield. We see England host Greece. England are $1 favourites. Greece are $51 outsiders. And this is another match that is the first time ever meeting between these two sides. So some more history here for England and Greece. And this game is kicking off on Sunday, 12:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and there are huge changes for England, and I think this is just more or less resting of players until the finals come about. So I'll go through the entire team lists for both of these sides. Starting at fullback for England, Jack Welsby will wear the number 6 jersey, but he has been named in fullback. The wingers are Ryan Hall and Dominic Young. John Bateman and Kai Pearce-Paul are the centres. I've heard a lot about this kid, Kai Pearce-Paul. He makes his test debut this weekend. I'm really going to keep an eye on him. And then the halves pairing is Mark Sneed and George Williams. George Williams is the captain because Sam Tompkins has been rested. And we move into the forward pack. Thomas Burgess, Chris Hill, and Andy Ackers are the front row. The back row is Morgan Knowles, Mike McKeon, and Victor Radley, the back row. And then the interchange bench for the English, Luke Thompson, Matty Lees, Mike Cooper, and Mikolaj Oledzki. Wow. Okay, sorry, I butchered your name. I'm sorry, but that's the interchange bench. That's the team there for England, and there's also changes aplenty for Greece. In at fullback with jersey number 3 on his back is Terry Constantino. The wingers are Sateni Talcamo and Katsadonis. Johnny Mitzias. And then the centres is Katsadonius and Magurios. And then the halves pairing is Jordan Meads and Lachlan Ilias. The forward pack, Bastos, Flokar, and Mamazoulas is in the hooker. And then the back row is Cambos, Vranos, and Sel. And then the interchange bench is Zampetides, Neanakas, Su Tin and Rusoglu for the interchange bench. Heaven help me. Um, yeah, the English, while there is Elliot Whitehead missing, Job Bateman's playing in the centres, Herbie Farnworth, Callum Watkins, Michael Mickleham is out for the English. I just think they're still going to be way too powerful of a side. And Greece, admittedly, they've been playing some spirited footy, man, some really exciting plays. But I just think England are going to be way too much for them this weekend. So England 13 plus. Game number 3 of week 3 is from Kingston Park in Newcastle. Fiji host Scotland, and Fiji are $1 favourites to Scotland, $34. These two sides have only ever met once, and that was in the 2008 World Cup, which was played out at Gosford that night, and it was actually Scotland that defeated Fiji 18 points to 16. And I do remember that game. It was an absolute thriller. It was an awesome game, that contest. And if it's anything, and if this game this weekend is anything like that game from 2008, we're in for a corker. But I don't think it's going to be the case. There have been changes for the Fijian side, so we've got Ben Nakabuai and Tui Kamikamika, two of their starting props. They're going to be out for this contest, and coming in for them is Joseph Ratufakasero Valu, and then the other gentleman there is Metiliali Vulikijapani and Tavita Taylor as well. And then shifting to the Scots, Ryan Brearley is back in the side in at the halfback position. Bailey Liu and Sam Luckley are in the side as well, pushing out Alex Walker and Bailey Hayward. The Fijian side from last week was sensational. What a difference it makes to see Fiji play compared to Australia when they played them on a cold, rainy night, and then they played Italy 1 week later on a dry, sunny day. Fiji were outstanding, and I hope it's a dry track against Scotland, man. Scotland, man, a lot of people, including myself, seems to have overestimated Scotland's depth and their team this year. I think they're unless if Samoa and or France fall out dramatically this weekend, and we'll get to that game soon. I think Scotland has been the most disappointing team in this World Cup. There's still a lot of talent in the Scotland side. A lot of NRL caliber players in there too. So I think Scotland have easily been the most disappointing side. I know they played Australia last weekend, but they were never in that game. Probably the first 5 minutes, sure, but they were never in that game, Scotland. And yeah, man, they never gave up, but they were never in it. So I think Fiji are going to win this game. They're going to get their first ever win against Scotland, and I think it will be by 13 plus. And I think just a massive shout out to Api Coruscant, who's going to be again partnering Brendan Wakeham in the halves. I think Api Coruscant, while Tagatua Mua had an outstanding game last weekend in the hooker position, to see Coruscant doing his thing still in a different position in at 5'8", I think it's awesome stuff. So I'm going to go Fiji by 13 plus this weekend out at Kingston Park. Australia's Rugby League World Cup campaign takes them out to Totally Wicked Stadium, where they host Italy, and the odds obviously are $1 favourites to Australia, $101 about Italy. You would imagine that the betting would be suspended on Australia coming closer into this game. And just a bit of history as well. These two sides, Australia and Italy, had a couple of test matches all the way back in January of 1960 in Padua and Treviso in Italy back in January 1960. This is their first ever meeting in a World Cup, but that's 50, 60 years since they last played each other. So that's pretty cool. And James Tedesco, I thought for sure and sundry he would be rested, but he's taking on Italy, and he is of Italian heritage. So he probably did always want to play this game up against Italy. So Matt, what a motor James Tedesco has. He is seriously one of the best players in the game on the planet. So James Tedesco is in at fullback, and there are a lot of changes for this Australian side, but the side that's been named here on NRL.com, I think there's going to be a lot of tweaking, and there's one name in particular that I think we're going to see come into the fold that hasn't been named in the starting 17, but I'll get to it in a second. So James Tedesco, captain, is at fullback. The wingers named on NRL.com once more is Campbell Graham and Murray Taulagi. Jack Whiten and Matt Burton are the centre pairing. DCE and Nathan Cleary are the halves pairing. There's going to be a little in battle between them two this weekend for sure. Regan Campbell-Gillard, Patrick Carrigan and Ben Hunt are the front row. The back row, Cameron Murray, Liam Martin and Isaiah Yeo. That's a huge back row. Shifting to the interchange bench for Australia, Valentine Holmes, Lindsay Collins, Ruben Cotter and Big Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. And then in at 18th man, Latrell Mitchell. Is he going to force his way into the side? I imagine he could, but who's he going to take over? Maybe Matt Burton. I can't imagine seeing Latrell Mitchell having 2 weeks off. I think he'd want to play, just to have a bit more fluidity, consistency in his game for when the finals come about next weekend. And then Jeremiah Nanai has been named as 19th man for Australia. So Latrell Mitchell, 18th man. Who's he going to take over if he takes over anyone? My bet would probably be on Matt Burton, but we'll see what happens with Mal Meninga. And then there's only a couple of changes here for the Italian side. Gianni Celerino and Ronnie Palumbo are in, and that pushes out Ryan King for Italy. Italy were, they weren't in it for a whole lot last weekend against Fiji, which was disappointing because that was probably the game I was most looking forward to. A lot of people were most looking forward to last weekend because of the comprehensive victory from Scotland, or over Scotland, the fortnight beforehand. So really disappointing, but yeah, they're going to play with a lot of pride as well. Italy, they've been decent, man. They've been decent this World Cup so far, but they take on the greatest challenge that there is in rugby league, and that's taking on Australia. And again, this one's being played out at Totally Wicked Stadium. So I'm going to go Australia, yeah, by 40 plus. Our next contest sees us out at Lee Sports Village in Lee. Lebanon are hosting Jamaica. Lebanon are $1 favourites. Jamaica are $41 outsiders. And this is where we get to the stage where these team lists haven't been announced for the remaining few games. But Adam Doueihi, he is going to return in this game after being suspended for dissent in the first game of the Rugby League World Cup. And it didn't faze Lebanon last weekend in a fiery, spiteful contest against Ireland. Lebanon just way too silky, way too fast for Ireland last weekend. So Adam Doueihi, I imagine, is going to slot straight back in the 5/8 position. Maybe Mitch Moses will be rested, but we'll see what happens once more. And Jamaica, they scored their first ever try in the Rugby League World Cup with Ben Jones-Bishop, I believe his name is. Great story and great scenes. It's one of the best moments, if not the best moment of the World Cup thus far. I think Jamaica are really impressive in attack. Both their games, while they've lost massively, defensively that they're way off. But I think in attack, man, they prove to have a lot on offer. And if they ever take on, or if we ever see a match where Jamaica take on a United States, for example, I'd love to see how they go, man. But yeah, Jamaica in attack, there's some things there that they can work on, and we'll see what happens if they can qualify in 2025 in France. But Lebanon, I think they're going to be just way too much for Jamaica, and I think this is going to be a 30 plus points victory to Lebanon this weekend against Jamaica in Lee. And Riverside Stadium is the venue for the next game in Middlesbrough. Tonga versus Cook Islands. Tonga are $1.05 favourites. Cook Islands are $10 outsiders. And I must reiterate again, team lists have not been announced for this game, and Jason Taumalolo is not going to return for Tonga in this contest. He's got one more game to serve, and then he comes well and truly back into the fold for them. And then the Cook Islands last weekend, they were in that game up to their eyeballs up against Papua New Guinea, but just some really ordinary, crazy moments from the Cook Islands cost them dearly. Their halfback, Jonathan Ford, got struck down by a flu, so maybe he might come back into the halfback role for the Cook Islands, who were lacking in the halves. They didn't have enough polish to their game, the Cook Islands. And again, just back on Tonga, the past two games have taken a bit too long to warm up, and if it gets to the final stages and they take way too long to warm up into games, again, it might cost them a spot in a semi-final or even the final of a World Cup. Because Wales, we'll get to them again. We'll get to them soon. But Wales were the best, were the better side last weekend for the first half an hour to 35 minutes against Tonga last weekend, and even had the lead there for a short while. I think Tonga, again though, I think this is going to be close for the first half. I don't think Tonga are going to start off fiery. And I think it'll be a competitive first half, and then I think Tonga are just going to run away with it. I think we'll see maybe like a 36-16 scoreline in favour of Tonga this weekend against the Cook Islands at Riverside Stadium. Now, easily, this is the game of the week. Samoa versus France at Halliwell Jones Stadium in Warrington. Samoa are $1.05 favourites. France are $10 outsiders. That's a little bit of good value on them. And these two sides have met in two previous World Cups, 2008 and 2013. And the overall record between Samoa and France is 4-1 in favour of Samoa. You win and you're in. This is the conundrum that's facing both of these sides. This is finals a week early, Samoa versus France. Samoa, albeit against Greece, they certainly they rectified their loss against England, and now they're sitting in the positives for for and against Samoa after getting belted by England in the first week. So they've turned it around. France, they did well to claw it back to 18 points to 12 going in at half time. And then just an early try to England. Then after a couple of minutes into the second half, England were never headed, and France couldn't get back into the game. But it was a really solid effort from them to make it close for that first half, and a little bit of change there in the second half as well. I think Samoa are going to have a bit too many points in this game, and it will be interesting to see actually if Anthony Milford, who was suspended, I can't remember if he was suspended for 1 or 2 games for that late shot on Sam Tompkins, but if it is one game, expect Anthony Milford to return and partner Jerome Luai in the halves. But Jerome Luai certainly answered or hit back at critics this past weekend. But yeah, if you win, you're in. If France win, they're in. Samoa win, they're in. This is a finals week early, and I'm going to go Samoa to win this one. 13 plus, but not an extravagant 13 plus. And the final game of week 3 in the Rugby League World Cup is Papua New Guinea versus Wales. And New Guinea are $1.05 favourites. Wales are $10 outsiders. And this game is being played out at Eco Power Stadium in Doncaster. And these two sides have also met in 2 World Cups previously in the year 2000 and 2017. And the overall record is that these two sides have met on 4 occasions, and the ledger is actually in favour of Wales, and that dates back to the early 1990s, maybe 1988. But it's a record that began about 30 odd years ago. But the ledger, it's 3-1 in favour of Wales. And yeah, they've split it down the middle as far as World Cup victories go. Wales got Papua New Guinea in the year 2000, and then in 2017, Papua New Guinea put 50 points on Wales in this game. Papua New Guinea, I think they're going to be resting a couple of players again. I'd love to see how Xavier Coates would be going for Papua New Guinea in this tournament, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. They were so good in that second half, man. And they were challenged. They were challenged by the Cook Islands for that first half hour, and then once that second half began, they absolutely exploded. But Wales is not to be taken lightly, man. They've shown a lot of spirit, a lot of courage over the opening fortnight, and yeah, I think this will be another sort of first half competitive, and then second half I think it'll be ran away with by Papua New Guinea. I think it will be a 13 plus points victory again, but I think it won't be extravagant. I'm thinking maybe a 26 points to 12 scoreline in favour of Papua New Guinea this weekend, and that will see Papua New Guinea make the finals in the World Cup. So looking forward to seeing how they go in the World Cup finals, man. Holy crap. Yo, that's it for me, guys. Thank you very much for your continuous support. I hope you enjoy the Rugby League World Cup this weekend. Expect some more content from me on the Rugby League World Cup wheelchair tournament and the female tournament as well. Those videos are going to be coming out in the next couple of days. Yeah, hope your team wins this weekend, except for Italy, with all due respect. Go Australia. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you. Adios.